Okay, so today I'm going to be reading an October 1990 issue of Family Computer Magazine, and it comes with an insert for the Super Famicom Magazine as well. And so this is around the same time as the Famicom Tsushin that I read in an earlier video. And so before I get started with these two issues, a little addendum from the earlier magazine that I read, this one here. So just a quick update. Yeah, I had said that in the review crew in Famitsu, this female writer and editor was a composite or a fake character created by the other guys. Yeah, and it was true. I just checked again. And Magweasel, Kevin Gifford's website, very famously, where he goes through old Japanese magazine history, confirmed what I had read a long time ago, I think on his site, that yeah, she was created just to as a reflection of what women or girls might like out of a game. So her opinion is, you could call it a fake review. And so I was also looking at her scores. Why are they so darn high? And you know, there could be a couple reasons for it. Her purpose might not just be to, you know, represent female gamers. Her scores are always a lot higher than the other reviewers. Across the board, they're 7s and 8s, basically. So I think statistically, this was a clever way for the editors to boost the average score for every game. What are the reasons for that? Well, I guess if you have a 7 guaranteed from one writer, they could point to her review and say, you know, in case a games company was angry at a low score, they could always point to one and say, hey, look, this one got a higher score. I mean, we are balanced. So it's to present a veneer of having a balanced review. Also, it statistically boosts all the scores, so it's a way to not anger games companies for an overall, you know, 5s or 6s across the board. So this is a way to fudge the numbers and also to cover their asses when they give low scores. And so statistically, I mean, that's the effect that it has. So I'm pretty sure that's what the intention was also. That's pretty also underhanded. All right. And so, yeah, they leave this character beyond reproach because she's a woman and nobody wants to criticize the lone female reviewer in a magazine, right? Yeah. So that was kind of the strategies I think that went on at that time. That's just my suspicion. Another thing, so I was talking about this super memorization technique ad, and nothing to change here, but I read it again, and they are using high-pressure tactics to get kids to try to sign up for this scam. And so over here, this little blurb right here says, your rivals might already be using our program. Now is your chance to do it, to sign up. So they're using paranoia to sell super memorization technique scams. And finally, about the GAVA system, scam-worthy system. You get 17 GAVAs per biweekly issue, and I said that gives you little chance of winning or trading in for the higher value prizes. So when Famitsu went weekly, they cut down the value of their GAVAs to 7 points only, I think. Oh, sorry, no, 12 only. So I think they have a 5 and a 5 and a 1 and a 1. So they went weekly, but they also cut down how many GAVAs you could get, only 12 per week. So it's still hopeless to try to get a Mega Drive or PC Engine by trading it in. So it's still a scam even when they went weekly. All right. So that's this one out of the way. Famitsu. So now it's time to get going with the main issue this time, which is Family Computer Magazine. Okay, move this out of the way. So this is Family Computer Magazine, shortened to Famimaga, and it's published by Tokuma Shoten Intermedia. That's the publisher of this one. And they're also quite a large media company. Very famously, Nintendo Power, when they first started out publishing, partnered with Tokuma Shoten to do their layout or editorial content. So very early issues of 1988 or 89 Nintendo Power really matched the style and appearance and shared similar artwork and artists with this magazine. And so you will notice that it has a very similar bent. Famitsu was, in more ways than one, adolescent. It was geared towards adolescents and also boys, etc. This is like squarely aimed at kids. I don't know. You might say their target audience is fifth graders, and you'll notice in the magazine, you know, how that is so. I can't translate everything, but the phrasing they use and the way they explain things and catch your attention is in a more simplified way that a child can digest. And it also has far fewer and far shorter, long, wordy editorial or informational pages. It's a lot of pictures and flash. So let's get going, and I'll explain it as I go along. So earlier I read the Famitsu from the 12th of October 1990, and this is from the 19th, so 1 week later or so. Yeah, they have the same news. Super Mario World and the Super Famicom are coming out really soon, so that's what the insert is for. Yeah, so they have the magazine, and I'm sure kids would be super excited to see Super Mario World. All right. It says it covers Famicom, Super Famicom, and Game Boy. PC Engine and Mega Drive content is a little bit lacking. They do cover Atari Lynx a bit more, maybe because they have like a wide links, a dev system that can show the links on the TV screen. Maybe that's the reason. So here's an ad for Saga 2. It was eagerly anticipated, and it's coming out still in December. So 9 reasons why you should buy Makai Toshi Saga 2 for the Game Boy. Yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, Famitsu reads like a normal English magazine this way, from left to right, and Famimaga is from right to left, going this way. So I have to read it backwards like this. All right. So just the table of contents. It's really packed with colorful headlines, not the black and white stuff of Famitsu. And so Parodius is going to be released in November, and so they have a nice big spread for Parodius Da for the Famicom. And so there's not much to say here. I mean, I think you might know this game on the Super Famicom or arcades. And it's a little bit different on the Famicom, so I recommend trying it out. It still has great music. Okay, and so here's an SD Gundam game. It's a strategy game. It's the Gachapon Senshi 3, so it's the 3rd game in a Gundam strategy series that came out on the FDS, the Famicom Disk System, I believe. I like the cute, super deformed characters. That's kind of nice. I think they got all this artwork, straight from Bandai. I don't really like the humor style of the SD Gundam series, though, and the ads are obnoxious too. Here's Famista, or Family Stadium 1991 by Namco, and it's just an update of their very popular Famista series. I won't go into it much. It still has really primitive, like 1984 or so graphics, but that was the charm of Famista. So here's a preview of Makai Toshi Saga 2 by Square on the Game Boy, and I guess this is a full-fledged RPG with like a class system and really punishing way of leveling up. You can't really level up, I believe, going by what Jeremy Parrish says. You've got to inflict damage on your own party to make your units tougher. So really poor screenshot quality, so I imagine they are photocopying a press release or doing something like that. Going from videotape, I'm not sure. It looks like a photocopy. It doesn't even look like a screenshot. Here's a Dragon Ball Z. It looks like an RPG. It's a card. Oh yeah, right. It's the card battle RPG. So you're on a grid, but when you approach enemies, you get into card battle. So there's the battle system. You have to choose a card and match it up. That was popular in Japan at the time. And here's Sangokushi 2 by Koei. It comes, Jesus. So this is on the Famicom, and it's a 4 megabit cartridge. Romance of the Three Kingdoms 2. Wow. Okay, so for a Famicom game, the price was 148,000 yen. Of course, the yen was a bit lower in value, I believe, at the time. So this would be, I'm guessing $110 US at the time. But it comes with, if you buy the one with a CD, it's 172,000 yen. So that's the price of a game system to get a Famicom game with a CD on it, or a CD in the package. I'm sure that's rare because, well, maniacs bought it, I'm sure, but not the general public so much. Wow. Yeah, Koei had many pages of ads, and now I know why, because they charged a lot for their games. Sheesh. So here's something special about Tokuma Shoten. Famitsu was more professional, yeah, and Tokuma Shoten's Famimaga was, a little more for kids, but they also were a lot more accessible to the home brewer or bedroom programmer. I mean, not that that was condoned on the Famicom, but Famicom Magazine regularly had contests, write-in contests where you could send in your creations, or even, send in your programs on an open computer like the MSX. And Famimaga and Tokuma Shoten would publish it for you, or they would, help program it and also publish it for you. So that's what they did with a lot of these games. They had their own series of Famimaga volume discs, Famicom discs, sold for 500 yen each, but only in disc writer stations. And the average guy could, if he had an innovative idea, he could publish his own game. And they would, I guess Famimaga or Tokuma Shoten would do the art or help you with art and make a game. And so there were a few that are released like this. Clocks, this one, Panic Space. I don't know why, but Puyo Puyo was also released in this style, I believe. But that's by a professional company. But yeah, so here's the guy who came up with the idea. Yeah, so they're kind of making it look like, you too can make your own game and we will publish it for you on the disk system. Of course, it's a dead system, but it was cheap to do, so this company could afford to do it. Yeah, and yeah, so just a little bit of trivia. Way back in like 1986 or so, Tokuma Shoten also was a publisher for Famicom cartridge games, and I believe they published Lot Lot and Exit X's, which Exit X's is a Capcom game. So a Capcom arcade conversion was not published by Capcom, it was published by Tokuma Shoten. Yeah, so here's a puzzle game, Panic Space. It's pretty cool looking. There's a game called Migraine. I don't know what I forget what the home computer version's name was, but you aimed a laser and it hit reflectors at various angles, and you have to, destroy blocks and get into a laser collector. And that was a pretty cool game. This is a more simplified version because the laser is aimed at right angles only, but if you shoot it into the exit, you win, I think. So, pretty cool game. Nice idea. And you can design your own puzzles and save them on the disk. So, I mean, it's good for homebrew programmers, and it's good use of the disk media. Yeah, and so they actually have a contest where you can try to beat certain levels in the minimum number of steps. And if you do that, you win like a plaque. Or a framed, looks like a brass plaque or something. So here's Niji Silk Road, Rainbow Silk Road, I talked about in the other issue. And so it's an RPG, very bog standard looking. I mean, it's not up to 1990s standards. Got interesting locales, you know, Arabian Peninsula and stuff. And you can travel by flying carpet and also ship. Okay, hope I didn't miss any pages. All right, here's Roadster on the Game Boy. This is a Mazda Miata. You might know it as that. In Japan, the Miata was named the Mazda Unos Roadster, and so that's what this is. So those are super popular at the time. Cute little car, and so they made a car based. I mean, I made a game based on that, but I don't think, yeah, they don't say Mazda anywhere, so it's an unofficial copy of the Roadster. So here's Bomboozle by Chemco and an ad for Draken. So here's the same kind of ad as before. This is speed reading. So, you know, they have a comic where a kid is annoyed and he can't read quickly, and so he can't study well. So here's another ad. Just in a flash of your eyes, you can speed read. It's BS. And I think Tokuma Shoten, more so than ASCII Corporation, published reams and reams of strategy guides for games. So I think that's where they got most of their money from. So here's an ad for a whole bunch of strategy guides for Game Boy and Famicom games. Here's that SD Gundam RPG on the Game Boy. Really, Lacroix Heroes. Really generic. And an ad for Populous again, pointed this way. So I guess you're supposed to read it vertically the other way around now. Okay, so here's Jellicoe's spread. Well, on this page they have Metal Flame Psybuster, which was Metal Mech, also earlier known as Mechanoid. So this was, I believe it was programmed by Solid Software in the West. So this was Metal Mech on the NES and Metal Flame Psybuster. Graphics are not great. Yeah. Magic John, Jajamaru again. Here is the ad for A Boy and His Blob on the Famicom and Game Boy. And A Boy and His Blob came out, I think, in 1989 on the NES, and now it's late 1990 on the Famicom. And the only changes I think I know of are, of course, Japanese text, and the boy was changed to something cuter, not just some, you know, pencil-thin outline on the NES version, and so the Game Boy version has the same character. Yeah, but so I guess they're Jellicoe World. I don't know what this means, but all these games were at least designed, if not programmed, in the West. So they're like importing things from around the world. Here's Namco promoting some LCD games. Yes, those were still selling back in '90. I think I took one on a school trip because that's all I had. My Game Boy screen had busted. So here's Famista 91 LCD game and Final Lap. Splatterhouse Galaga 91. So they changed the numbers from 88 to 91. And it's a little bit isometric. So it's, I guess that's just to get more screen space, but okay, whatever. It's more Zaxxon style. Pac-Land and Dragon Spirit. Wow. And actually these are Namco's games, but they're created by Vadie Corporation, which was also a Famicom licensee. All right. I'm sure they were manufactured by a totally different company, but Vadie did were the go-between for that. And so again, the same Sunsoft ad as you've seen before. Here's an ad for Silk Road. I think I've shown this already. Astrofang and Boulder Dash. I don't know. Astrofang, when I saw the screenshots, it just seemed like an unlicensed Taiwanese game to me. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the name or something. Really low budget 3D driving game, it seems. Did they steal that background from Magic John or from JJ? Okay, here's another bog standard RPG, Otaku no Seiza, an adventure in the Otaku Galaxy. So I guess it's kind of anime and otaku related or parody RPG. And the publisher is M&M. M&M. Okay. I'm going to check to see what other games they published. Not a lot. Oh, here's Enix's spread of ads. Again, Dragon Quest, I think it's a book. Kabuki Rocks, a glam rock band, glam hair metal band that was popular in Japan at the time, is promoting Dragon Quest and their games. Dragon Quest 4, they're still trying to sell it. Okay, here's, I think, manga. Alright, and so Konami has an ad for Boku Dracula-kun and also Parodius on the Famicom. So this is mostly Dracula-kun's ad. So great Famicom game. Oh, Insectrex by Taito, again. I said it was cutesified, but actually I think Joe Redifer corrected me on my YouTube video that the original arcade game was cute like this, and the Mega Drive version had more hardcore, realistic-looking graphics for a bug hunting game. Here's Harikiri Stadium 3, another baseball game. An ad for it. We don't know when it's coming out. Gunnak by Compile. And Data East has an ad for more of their games. Side Pocket and Little Magic. And the Pennant League. 1990 version. I think by this time, you know, I had said that Famicom fatigue had been setting in. And oh yeah, you can see in the baseball games especially. You know, 1987 had a huge rush of baseball games, and then they had like a 1988 or 89 version, and then the Japanese emperor died, and so they had the baseball Heisei version, which is the Heisei era in Japan. So any excuse to put out the latest update for a baseball game. Thank God they're not doing that nowadays. Eh? Okay, this is a little interesting. You usually see this in a computer ad, but this is just a screen glare filter. And this lady in the horrible outfit, the Western lady in the... Oh, what a suit. That's horrible. She had appeared in these ads for like years, I think. Just showing off how this would cut down glare and save your eyes. And what a busy ad. I mean, okay, yeah, you know, the price is good, and, you know, the amount of glare that it would cut down is fine, but they could do it in, you know, more simple way, I think. Anyway, that's what this is. You'll see this in other magazines. Maybe like in the earlier, you know, later in the 80s, not in the 1990s so much. Now this is interesting. McDonald's, fast food restaurant chain, and Nintendo partnered up for their Super Famicom sales. You know, similar to how McDonald's did with Super Mario 3 at the time. And so you can win prizes and things. So you can win Super Mario World. There's a scratch-off card here. And so you can win copies of games. Super Mario 1, Super Mario 3. You can win Super Mario LCD watches. And there's 30,000 to be won. And I can't really quite see... It's way too small. I don't even know, you know, which game this is. You can also win some McDonald's stuff. So it's kind of interesting. It's Mac Super Mario World game. This one. All right, and yeah, Bulletproof Software has their Tetris and Pipe Dream games being promoted. Scotland Yard. Maybe it looks like Carmen Sandiego, but for the Game Boy. It's a detective game. Again, Palamedes, this time for the Game Boy. Here is Gojira-kun for the Game Boy. I read that this is also programmed by Compile, and it's a pretty cool action game. It's puzzle oriented, of course, because it's a Game Boy, but it's an action puzzler. And despite being from Compile, the music's not so great. Times of Lore, an Origin Systems Famicom conversion, and Nadia, which was an anime. These are all by Toho. Here's Holmes Meitante. This was an animated movie, I think, with Sherlock Holmes as a dog. And so I think there's a game related to that too. No cut. Well, it says here it's Laserdisc, so I guess this is an ad for the series on Laserdisc, and I don't know how many Laserdiscs it comes with. Okay, sorry, 26 episodes. I think that's on 7 Laserdiscs, and the price is around $500. Wow. Okay, Cyber Knight on the PC Engine. All right, so here's an ad for Panic Space, promoted by Famimaga, of course. And so you can go to the disc writer in your local game shop and get it for 500 yen, and that's a steal, I think. You know, a new game, 500 yen only at that time, that's great. And so here Tokuma Shoten is promoting their own other magazines, like Game Boy Magazine. They also have Mega Drive Fan Magazine. I liked Game Boy Magazine because every cover was done in pixel art, and at that time pixel art was kind of rare to see, you know, blown up on a magazine front cover. So someday I'll do, ask me if you want to see, and I'll do some previews of Game Boy Magazine. Some more mail-in present stuff, a release schedule for games, and it's not the giant spread like in Famitsu, it's just no, sorry, that's still related to the promotion. Sorry, my mistake. Okay, so I guess it's the reader's mail-in card, all this stuff. Okay, well, getting on to the comic book. I mean, Famitsu had a lot of comic books just for entertainment purposes. Famimaga, Famicom Magazine, similar to Nintendo Power, they use the comics for propaganda. And so how do I explain this? They have Disc-kun, and he's not dead yet. No, he's got his gray brother, another Disc-kun. And each week, or every 2 weeks, they would have some kind of topic covered, but not in an article and not like with an interview, you know, with real photographs. They would draw a comic book to explain something to little kids. And it's kind of patronizing having information presented this way. Now, this is not the best thing. They're just imagining, you know, what future games would be like a Game Boy Color or a Super Ultra Family Trainer that like tilts up and stuff. You know, they predicted 3D gaming like Star Fox. Yeah, okay. I'll show you another issue that really shows what they do. Similar to how Nintendo Power, you know, Nintendo Power had Howard and Nestor, and only occasionally would they actually have, you know, like some message in it, like propaganda. You know, like piracy is bad. Okay. So here's another issue, same sort of thing. It's really presented the same way that Japanese children's educational TV shows are presented. They have a setup with a character playing a game, and maybe he's getting frustrated. Oh, this game is so hard. You know, I wish I could like complain to the creators, or you know, oh, this game's great. I wish I could talk to the creators. What was he thinking? And so some sage flies in on a cloud and condescends to the characters, to the straw person, just like they would do in a TV show. And so they whisk away to an interview. And now it's not a written interview like in a newspaper or a, you know, good magazine. It is still done in manga form. So here is Koichi Nakamura, the programmer of Dragon Quest. And so they ask him questions about, how did you make this game? And sometimes they show, you know, concepts like hexadecimal and ROM, RAM, the insides of a game system, you know, how things are decompressed, or how algorithms work. And so here he's explaining how they made the game, and also, you know, how a game is put together and marketed and sold, and differences between the different versions of games. So it's a little bit interesting, but still it's shown, it's candy coated. And so reading this, I would, if I were a kid reading this, I would feel like I was being talked down to a little bit. If I were a fourth grader, I might think this is cool, but as I matured, I would reject it probably. And so they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot by doing it this way. But that is kind of the editorial stance they took. We are selling to kids, and we are, you know, shoving messages in. Usually it would be pro-Nintendo messages, like, you know, don't copy disk system games because it's killing me. That sort of thing. Yeah, unvarnished propaganda here. Moving on, here's a game that was never released on the Famicom, but it was announced. It's called Zark Legend, and there's another game called Off Zarkin. It's too bad it was never released. This is just talking about how you could win a T-shirt, and the music composer is a guy named Nakamura Yasushi. And I tried to search for him online, but I couldn't find anything about this guy. There's a much younger musician named Nakamura Yasushi. So this guy's a musician, or was to be a musician for this game, but it didn't get released. Yeah. So here is just the odds and ends, the bits and bobs of small pieces of news. So, for example, music CDs coming out. Outzone by Toa Plan, Snow Brothers together. Video VHS tapes. B movies, etc. And here is the 1990 gift show. It's like the toy show, but it's for more disposable type gifts. I'm not so sure. But they have, like wood puzzles and Moomin items and Ultraman things. So I guess it's kind of Chibi Maruko-chan. I guess it's for, younger kids to be interested in. Like a Lego style train. And more CDs and videos at the bottom. And here's a chance for you to win more presents. Maruko-chan stationery and stuff from the show. And so here's their cheats and tips and tricks section. Another thing I hate. This is like Ultra Techniques +1, and the +1 means among all of these cheats and tips, they slip in a fake one. So they erode the trust of the readers in all these tips. I think they should have done this only in April like EGM did. Doing it every single issue really just does erode the trust. Kids try something that looks cool and then they get frustrated and they might reject this magazine too. So I don't think Famimaga's strategies were that well thought out. But okay, anyway, SDF has an option mode. Rough World has a sound testing continue. Maten Doji, Conquest of the Crystal Palace, has a few cheats. Okay, I think this is the fake one right here. So they have a real cheat here, and you input a code, and your main character's hair gets magenta and spiky, like some kind of troll doll. I think obviously that's the one that's fake. It doesn't look that realistic, and Famicom doesn't have those colors anyway. So this one's easy to spot, but other issues are not that hard, or not that easy to spot. So, well, it's fun to to make a game out of it, but not when kids really need help. Kage, Street Fighter 2010 strategies. Yeah, Battle Fleet. All right, that's more or less the end of this. And so they revealed in the next issue where the or which one was a fake cheat from the previous issue. So kids are frustrated for about 2 weeks maximum. Okay, and so here again is Q&A where people send in questions or they have extra strategies. Look at the art style of this page. I got a feeling that the creator Ken Sugimori, the artist Ken Sugimori of Game Freak, who also did Pokemon and Jerry Boy, did the art in this section, and they had done it for years. I'm not so sure. I mean, I should look more online. I mean, I did some research, but I couldn't find a definitive answer. It says the illustrations are by Apple Art, and good luck finding that in Japanese online now. But this style is really Ken Sugimori's style, and so whatever artist did it, they did Rockman in a cuter art style, a rock girl. Here and here. And so yeah, here's strategies for Rockman 3, getting into the Needleman stage. This is the Doc Robot stage. Okay, a little bit of trivia. Sometimes Mega Man games and Rockman games have puns in them, and I didn't know about it until years later when I actually learned Japanese and thought about it. Okay, Doc Robot in English. It's a portmanteau of Dokuro and robot, so Dokuro bot. Dokuro means skull in English or in Japanese. So dokuro in Japanese means skull. So it's a skull robot. It's a pun on that. Dokuro bot. And there are some other puns in other games. I'll mention them if I can remember. So strategies for God Slayer, which is, what is that? Crystallis on the Nintendo NES. Okay, and here's their section on the Lynx. The Atari Lynx was distributed by a company named Moomin, that's M-U-M-I-N, in Japan for a couple years. And so Famimaga got a hold of a wide Lynx, which was able to put the Atari Lynx games on their TV screen, which is pretty cool. And so here's a preview of Road Blasters and some games coming up, Robo Squash, and I guess the release list of future Lynx games. And I spot 720 Degrees. Did that ever come out on the Lynx? I don't know. I don't remember seeing that one there on the Lynx. Maybe not. Okay. And so here's the hit chart of I think mid-September, yeah, of 1990, and top and the first entry. So a new top seller, which was just released, was Doraemon, some Doraemon RPG, and that was not on the Famitsu's top chart. So their top selling games for mid and then late September don't match up with Famitsu's. Dr. Mario and Super Mario 3, actually Super Mario 3 is up there, so I don't know how they do the ranking. It's kind of weird. Yeah, it says discount shop ranking, so actually that's the used games for sale. And the weekly data, well, where do they get it from? Maybe a different shop or place than Famitsu. So here's readers ranking games, and so they give scores for games like Backgammon and SDF and so on. So the readers send them in. Okay, and the readers request the games they like or they want to see in the future. And some small section of Game Boy games. And then here is the future games that have been announced. And so again, here's Jelly Bean, or in the future it was called Jerry Boy. And here's a nice big picture of a boss, and just the graphics are totally different from the released game. You are fighting some kind of pheasant or game hen in this prototype version. So this is, of course, vastly changed for the release version of Jerry Boy. And here's Super Chinese 3. It looks like a pseudo-action overhead RPG game, so it might be one to check out, but I think it was not that great. Konami YY World 2. Again, like I talked about before, games are getting larger and more rectangular sprites, and everything's getting a bit more rectangular and cartoony. Not my favorite art style, but it's still a really cool game with great music. And here's Gunsight, also known as Laser Invasion, and that came with a Konami headset where you'd yell fire and it would press the B button for you. So I'm not so sure about this game. And so over here is Game Boy versions of Contra, which is great, and Black Dungeon it's still called here, and that was released as Cave Noir or Cave Noir on the Game Boy in 1991. And so this is a roguelike overhead role-playing game. So it's a very simple, simplified version of a roguelike. Clacks on the Famicom. This is Metal Storm, and that came out in, I think, early 1991 in North America on the NES, but I think it came out in like 92 or much later on the Famicom. And I guess, well, the Famicom version has an extra intro scene and stuff, so that's what they worked on. Battle Unit Zeoth by Jellico for the Game Boy, it's alright. Tower of Druaga and Clacks. Clacks on the Game Boy, that's a weird one. They took away the 3D perspective, they took away all the colors, and all it's left with are spreadsheet style graphics with pattern shaded boxes and rectangles. That's really hideous to look at. Here are some really low quality photocopies of some more Game Boy games. I don't know where they got them from, but here's Head On and Monster Maker, Nekojara Monogatari, like a cat-based RPG, and a quiz game, Tecmo World Cup Soccer. Here's Tecmo Bowl, a Japanese version, I guess. Daikaiju Deburas, so a kaiju monster-based strategy game, I think. Famicom Shogi. Here's Musashi no Boken, so it's an RPG, a samurai-style RPG with kind of cute characters. And, yeah, some more stuff. Their personal ratings of favorite games. And then here's the future release calendar, the real one, for Famimaga. And it's split into Famicom, Game Boy, books, and Super Famicom, starting in, of course, November. And that's about it. So finally, there's an ad for Legend of Hero Tonma, again on the Famicom, which was unreleased. So the Famicom version was never released, only the PC Engine version was, and some ads for Game Boy Spartan X or Kung Fu, PC Engine Image Fight, and PC Engine Ninja Spirit, and Power Man on the Famicom. And that's basically it. There's so an ad for Nintendo, or an ad by Nintendo on the back. They always took out ads on the back of them, different magazines. There's a lot fewer ads in Famimaga, Family Computer Magazine, than in Famitsu. There's a lot more editorial content, which is kind of cool, and a little bit fewer pages. But one thing you might have noticed, or might not have noticed, one thing that is completely missing in Famicom Magazine are game reviews. These guys do not want to step on anybody's toes by criticizing or negatively reviewing a game, so they're even more like Nintendo Power at the time than you ever imagined. So that's the end of this magazine, and I'm going to move on to the Super Famicom insert. Okay, next I'll be talking about the supplement to this Famicom magazine, the Super Famicom Magazine supplement. So let's have a look at this one. So this was inserted in that, and this probably was the main selling point for anybody to buy that other Famicom magazine, just because it had screenshots and previews of the Super Famicom, which everybody had been waiting for at least 3 years. So ads finally come out for the Super Famicom. So Gradius 3 by Konami. So here's a picture of the latest version of the Super Famicom, the final version to come out. Or the final version before it came out, I mean. And so it's just a preview of the Super Famicom. I don't know if they played it in detail at this point. Maybe they had gotten like a loaner version of the system and gotten to try out all these games for some time. But I guess it's in detail enough and has high quality screenshots, so I guess they did. So Gradius 3 gets covered. It's a 4 megabit game. It has continues. It comes on cassette. The price included is 7,800 yen. It's coming out at the end of December, it says. Yeah, so just here are all the impressive levels and bosses of Gradius 3. Not much more to say. They just go over the weapons, and well, it's quite in high detail. So yeah, this would be a great taster for what's to come in December on the Super Famicom. So I bet you kids were drooling at this. How to defeat the boss or mid-bosses. Yeah, no commentary needed, really. This is pretty crappy composite video capture. So they either used a videotape or had it running on a videotape, or just captured it straight from composite. Okay, and so yeah, here's another cartoon. This might look very similar to the Super Mario Brothers cartoon comic that was in Nintendo Power in like the 1990s. A little bit later to promote Super Mario, maybe Super Mario World or the Super Mario Land games on the Game Boy. It's got same art style, probably same artist, I betcha. So it's just these guys put in a comic to attract kids, and they're pretty much promoting the game for Nintendo here. Why else would they go through all this trouble to do that? To show, oh, here's a new world. Look at all the things that are different. Oh, there's even, you know, a house and Yoshi and a dinosaur. So it's kind of pretty blatant promoting for Nintendo. So I guess Tokuma Shoten, the publisher, had a deal. But yeah, they introduce all the areas of Super Mario World and the bosses. So this is what, well, this is what I would have loved to have seen if I was waiting for the Super Famicom 2. They're kind of giving the game away here, giving away the secrets. But I guess they're, you know, for beginners, they're showing the basic strategies, how to deal with moving platforms, how to deal with the rotating spikes and things like that. How to solve the secret of the first ghost house. Yeah, kind of valuable. So here's a preview of Final Fight for the Super Famicom. It's a cassette, it's 8 megabits, 8,500 yen. That's actually, the prices are getting up there. They're getting quite expensive at this time. And I'm just looking around. Did they say that it's one player only anywhere? That's what I'm searching for. And I don't think so. I think they either are hiding that fact or they're just burying the lead somewhere. You can only play as one player. That's basically the sad truth that they're trying to hide here. Yeah, and there's only Cody and Hagar. So yeah, it's really disappointing. But I guess they're, you know, showing the great graphics, the giant sprites, the fun punching and kicking action, while avoiding discussing, you know, the negatives that you can't play with a friend. Here's SD, the Great Battle, and the characters that show up in the game. As I said already, it's not that great. It's a ho-hum action game. I really like the overhead graphics for the first stage. Just the scrolling clouds in the background and the ground below, I like that parallax effect. It's nice. Second stage gets boring and really has poor palette cycling effects. So here's the second stage right here. It's a castle, and you know, when lightning flashes, everything goes black and white. It's pretty dull. Music's good. I like the music, although it still has that kind of everybody using the same sound bank with traditional crappy MIDI triggers, music engine that a lot of early Super Famicom games had. Games mostly by Bandai and Banpresto. They kind of sounded like they all copied each other using the same sound bank, and the music had no feeling to it. Not enough nuance. But this one's actually, you know, some nice pumping action hero type music tracks. There's a translation for this game into English on romhacking.net, so please look for it. At least you can, you know what they're saying. Interestingly, as you can see here, there's like hex code on the screen in all these pictures. So they are playing through a beta version, which probably has, you know, cheats and other debugging features enabled. Pretty large spread for this game. I guess that's because, you know, Gundam and Ultraman and other, you know, light superheroes tokusatsu heroes were popular in Japan, of course. Here's the game Dynamite Bombozo, or Bombazzle, or whatever it's called. It's originally a computer game from England, I think it says here. It appeared on the Atari ST and Amiga. I don't like it so much, and it's a pretty dumb choice for a conversion to the Super Famicom, but I guess Kemco specialized in this, quickly porting over popular Western computer games or console games. It says here it was originally by Mirrorsoft, which went under in a spectacular fashion in the early 1990s. So the perspective is all right, but it's clearly lacking in color, and it doesn't use the Super Famicom's capabilities at all. So, you know, people who bought this, they only bought it because all the other choices like F-Zero and Super Mario World were not available or sold out. But here's like the previews of all the game companies that are releasing or planning to release games for the Super Famicom in the future. And I won't go over all of them, it's just too much. But for example, TAD Corporation, TAD Corporation, who made Toki, has no comment, so they have no plans. And Toho has no comment, but I guess later they might release Space Megaforce in the US anyway. No, even more, yeah. Hot Bee has no comment because they prefer Sega Mega Drive. Human, I guess they have no comments, but they'll release a wrestling game soon. And so here's the release list for the Super Famicom according to this special. So yeah, November 21st is the release date of the Super Famicom, along with Super Mario World, F-Zero, and Dynamite Bomboozle. It's only cheaper than these other ones, so how they got it that cheap, who knows? They were just trying to get in at the last minute and get those sales in. Pilot Wings on December 21st, and Populous, and then yeah, late December is Gradius 3, Draken Final Fight, Gadleen or Gaduline, and then into 1991, SD Great Battle. So it's kind of a late release considering how detailed it is there. Hole-in-One Golf, Ultraman, Big Run, and Jelly Bean come in later 1991, so in April. And then planned but unannounced. I think that's the same as the list we had in the other magazine, in the Famitsu. So not much else to see. That's just an ad for Final Fight. It's 8 megabits. Sorry folks, it's one player only, is not written anywhere. So that's kind of it. This is just a short insert, and they concentrated most on Super Mario World, Gradius 3, even though it would come out much later, SD Great Battle. You know, F-Zero was supposed to come out the same day as the Super Famicom, but there's no F-Zero coverage in here at all. So what's up with that? They either couldn't get a preview copy, or Nintendo, you know, would not reveal much information about it. All right, so that's the end of this issue. Look forward to more read-throughs of Japanese magazines, and please leave comments or email me, because I read emails more than I do YouTube comments. Yeah, I'm that old. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.